Let's get this started. Howdy.
Oh, wow, we can now see you now. Well, everyone,
Indeed.
we are live. I don't know if I don't know how well this is working. On my phone, I've got like the YouTube channel on my phone to see what it looks like here. So right now, so I'm kind of like checking out here. So how you been?
I've been good. I've been good. I saw Alien Romulus a couple of days ago. It's fantastic.
Is it? I plan on seeing it Sunday.
hmm
I hope so.
I'm gonna
I
say
wanted to
I've.
see. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm gonna say I've never thought this before, but if they want to give this director Phantasm, so be it.
Really, that's a big jump from. That's a different. Not even a jump. It's like a. I don't know. That's like a. That's like going from one end of the board to the other, going from Alien to Phantasm. Why do you say? What made you think Phantasm?
I'm saying he's done Evil Dead, and this Alien movie is fantastic. And so
Hmm.
I'm thinking, why not let him go from like skipping stone, franchise to franchise to franchise.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe that's a franchise with Phantasm that. See what they could do with it. I mean, would they want to do a remake of Phantasm, or would they want to do a? Because of course, guy Alistair Shrim or how do
Angus
you spell
Scrimp.
Angus Shrimp? Why did I say Al? Oh, that's because you're Alistair. Um, promise I'm not drunk yet right now. He's of course long past gone. So would they do a remake? Could they do a legacy sequel where someone takes the torch from the tall man? Or that would be interesting.
I gotta tell you, after seeing all five movies, I still don't know what the hell was going on, and it is magnificent because of it.
I wonder, if they were going to do that, who could play the tall man? Who could we see that could pull that off?
I'd have to think about it. I have to think about it. This was just off the top of my head. I wasn't. There's no research done here, of course.
No, I know this is we're totally ad libbing here right now. So
Fuck it, Nicolas Cage. Why not?
played everything else. Why not? I'm like trying to
Um,
think here. Who could Nicholas Cage or Bill Skarsgård? They both will play anything at any given
ooh.
time. Um, maybe.
I-
Did you ever see that show Preacher? It was on AMC quite a few years ago.
the first few episodes, it's the same thing with the boys. I've read all the comics, so
Okay.
and just there's a lot more freedom to do more messed
There,
up shit in the comics.
there's a character, and he doesn't come in until season 2, and I don't remember his
Like
name. But he's
the
like,
Saint of Killers.
no,
Is that the one? No.
but the guy who's like in charge of this cult, he's bald guy, wears white. I know
Uh,
the actor's name. His name's Pip Torrens. He could be
mhm.
someone that could maybe play the tall man. And if you haven't seen him in the show because you only watched the first few episodes of season 1, he doesn't come in until season 2. But that's someone I could see maybe pulling that off.
I gotta say, who they cast for Cassidy the Vampire? I'd seen him in another show
Really,
called Misfits,
because
and when
he
I
was
heard
like
they
my
cast him, I was like, "Perfect, that's Cassidy. That's fucking Cassidy."
yeah,
Yeah.
he was my favorite character on that show too. I'm trying to think who. It's been so long since I watched that show. Interesting group because you had Dominic Cooper plays the preacher, but a lot of Marvel fans will know him as playing the younger version of Howard Stark, Tony Stark's dad, because he was in the first Captain America movie.
He always had my eye. I only saw half of it, but the movie where he played Uday Hussein's body double or something, or
Hmm.
security double. I was like, two very different characters, man. That was some range right there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Alien Romulus. I haven't heard a bad thing yet about it. I've heard
Mhm.
basically somewhere in the range to where it's good. It had maybe someone had a few issues with it,
Mm.
and it's great. So it's in between there. So it's probably like on a scale of 1 to 10, it seems like it's falling between the 7 and 9 level. I don't think I've heard anyone say that it's as good as Alien or Aliens, but they're putting it right in behind those two, it seems like.
And if anyone mentions any issues, I know exactly what they're talking about. When you see it, you'll know too.
Okay. I've kind of heard what one of those could be, but I won't say in case someone
Mhm.
actually pops on in here. So far, not really yet. But let me just look over here.
I I remember years back, I was in a group chat and
Just
we were
looking for.
talking about Candyman. And in my head, I was counting how many times it had been said.
Uh
And I told everyone, guys, listen, it's already been said 4 times. I think we should retire the word
huh.
just in case. But then I also said, but some
No kidding.
asshole is just going to come in the chat room right now and just be like, hey, you guys see Candyman?
That's a movie I need to revisit. It's been a long time since I watched the original one. I think that one's on my playlist because I have this huge playlist of movies that I am watching or rewatching leading up to Halloween, and Candyman's obviously on that list because it's basically a list of some of my favorites. So that
You saw
one's
you saw
coming
the
up
new one,
soon.
right?
I did not. I heard too many bad things about it, and I just
Really?
decided not to. I decided to spare myself.
No, I a good review from me. The only thing I can tell you to brace yourself for is, you're not going to see Tony Todd. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah, I hear he's in it for like 1 second
One
or something
second,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But it's almost like, without going into detail, it's almost like the story tries to talk you into like why it's not going to be Tony Todd, and then
Mm-hmm.
after you accept that, then there's Tony Todd for that 1 second.
It's like maybe I don't know, maybe the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, if they had put Robert England in there for like 1 second, maybe people would have liked it. I don't know. Think about Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake.
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of people give that movie shit, and I'm like, I don't really like it, but I do know people who do actually like it, and I find that interesting. But I will say this: I did like the performance that Jackie Earl Haley
Hmm.
tried to give in the context of the movie, because he obviously wasn't going to try and redo um, Robert England. He was trying to do something different with the character, and I actually liked what he did with the character, making kind of almost brought it back to the OG, making him a little bit more darker. It's just for me like the one good performance in an otherwise not so great movie. But I don't. It's not a movie I absolutely hate or anything, but most people do. I don't know what you thought about it.
I mean, it was solid. I couldn't say I didn't hate the performance like a lot of people do,
Hmm.
but it's also the fact that there was so much hate for it that, like, I'm thinking, I understand you may not have liked it, but if you like shit on it, they're not going to make any more. And Robert England has retired like 5 times from the role.
Yeah, yeah, he's not coming back. I think maybe if they had, maybe they made that movie too early.
Mm-hmm.
See, with Jason and Michael, it's not a big deal. You can put a mask on or a hockey mask on or whatever. And granted, there was some blowback and I think rightfully so when they did Jason versus Freddy and they didn't bring back Kane Hodder to play Jason in that because that's what everyone's wanted to see and that didn't happen. But for the remake, no big deal at that point. It's a remake, and Derek Mears did a great job in that role, and just like Tyler Main, I thought did a good job for the type of role that Rob Zombie wanted out of that character. But when you're talking about a character that talks and has a certain personality about him, it was the same thing when they first couple times they tried to replace Doug Bradley as Pinhead. It just wasn't going to work. So I think maybe if they had waited till say 2020 and done a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, maybe the fans would have been more forgiven someone else other
They
than
fucking
Robert
wouldn't.
Englund playing
They fucking
Freddy.
wouldn't have, man. The new Halloween movies, all I hear is just bitching after bitching. That's the trouble with coming back to established franchises, man. Either you're gonna get complaints of it's more of the same, or you're gonna get complaints of it's trying to be too woke. Yeah.
Mm, well, it always brings a red flag to me when I say, "Well, we're going to make this one for modern audiences." Well, what exactly does that mean, modern audiences? Because basically your fan base for a particular movie that goes back to the 70s or 80s are going to be not exactly your modern audiences, and the so I don't know. I think maybe we need like a 10-year moratorium on no more remakes for a while, and then because I honestly thought most of the ones that came out in the 2000s were pretty good, but I think as you got in the 2000 and teens,
Hmm.
you started seeing a sharp decline when they started remaking or doing a legacy sequel. A few exceptions, maybe, but
Now I remember with Hatchet, that was part of the advertisement, not based off a Japanese horror movie, not a sequel or remake.
no
Old
kidding.
school American horror.
Yeah, and we will have here in a few months Terrifier 3 coming out.
Uh,
So everyone's looking. And also coming out this weekend is a movie. Have you heard about Stream yet?
I was hoping to see that on Wednesday instead of Alien, but the showing there was a theater near me that had it, but by the time I would get out of work, I
Hmm.
wouldn't make it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not even playing in my town at all, which I was really bummed about because I want to support that movie because it sounds like, from what I know of the plot, not
Hmm.
to mention the cast they got, and they just recently announced that Tim Curry has a role in this.
That was me. I was like Alien Stream, and then that news about Tim Curry came out. I was like, okay, Stream, and then
Yeah,
they took it
because
from me.
Alien Rhombus is still going to be out for at least another week or two. But it kind of goes to my point, when I was growing up, when any movie came out, it went to theaters and it would normally stay. Even ones that weren't doing well would at least stay 3 or 4 weeks in the theater at least. And of course, the ones that did really well would stay months. I mean, I remember Terminator 2 being in the theater for, God, it seemed like 4 or 5 months. I bet it came out in like June and stayed in the theaters till September or something like that. But
When
nowadays, especially with horror movies, they're either going straight to streaming, or if they do go to the theater, it's maybe 1 week tops, and it's a limited release, unfortunately. And
not in every case, Long Legs
hmm
movie cost $4 million to make. In
yeah,
theaters a decent chunk of time and $100 million in box
and that movie had Nicolas Cage in it, though. Now, there's some good actors in Stream, like Dee
Jeffrey Combs.
Wallace, Daniel Harris,
Daniel.
Tony Todd, we just mentioned, Bill Moseley, and of course now Tim Curry. They just announced, which they must have been holding on to that bit of information right before opening weekend. But as we know, Nicolas Cage is up there, so he's going to sell that movie by himself almost.
Mhm.
Whereas this movie, it's a I don't know what they made it for, but my point being is if this movie could have gotten a really good theater run, it could be if it's plus, you got David Howard Thornton who plays Art the Clown is in it too. If it says
Freaking Jeffrey Combs, my friend.
exactly another one, if it's as good as it potentially could be, we're talking about another franchise starting, just like we have with Terrifier, just like we had back in the late 2000, 2007, whenever 2006, whenever Hatchet started. Thanksgiving, I think, is going to turn into a franchise. But if it doesn't do anything in the theaters, I'm worried that
There's not a
it's
guarantee
there's not going
that
to be a sequel, and
there's not a
therefore,
guarantee about that because Terrifier, it was mainly, I don't even think it came out in theaters, but it got popular on streaming, and then part two made it in
yeah,
theaters. So there's hope. There's hope.
yeah, there is hope. So let's hope it's good. So if you're out there, and if I don't know why it's just us two right now, but but anyhow, if you who watch this later on, if Scream is playing near you, go see it in the theater, and if it's eventually it's probably going to go to streaming, I would imagine, and then definitely go check it out. Because let's support it if it, especially if it's good. Obviously, we want it to be good, and if it's not good with that cast and that director, or I don't even know who's directing it, should probably never direct again or something. If you can't make a good movie with that cast, um, you know, you
If
got
it
some
goes,
issues.
I know it's from Bloody Disgusting, and they own Screenbox. If you ever
Hmm.
want to plop the money down, I think they have sometimes have deals where it's like $30 for a year, and that's a fantastic deal for streaming.
For a Scream Box,
Screenbox, yeah, and
I
that
think
one
I
they have the Terrifier series. They have it came out with Frogman a couple of months ago. That was a fun one,
don't know.
and they got a whole bunch of
I think it
stuff.
was something else that I briefly subscribed to just to watch one movie, and then I canceled it. But I don't think it was Scream Box. I know I have Shudder and obviously Tubi and Pluto. Um, I don't know why I keep. Well, I guess I do
They
have
got a bunch of
HBO Max, which does have some horror movies that aren't on those other. They seem to carry like some of the older A24 films, so I kind
and
of keep.
Malignant.
Yeah, Malignant. But that's.
That's an,
I wonder if that's a movie that'll ever get a sequel.
I hope so. I
They
hope
kind of
so.
left it open for that.
There's so much they could do. I really hope. And that was so fun. Twitter lost its goddamn mind. Back in the day, it was called Twitter.
Hmm. I don't know. I've never been on Twitter, haven't been on X or Y or Z or whatever they plan on calling it next, but just for that reason. But yeah, Malignant was also very. There were people who really liked it, and there were people that just really hated it, and I liked it. It was like a
Yep.
solid 7 for me. It's a movie I'll watch occasionally. Um, like the idea of what they did with it. I mean, they brought in the psychological elements, and then it just turns into a full blown slasher by the end of it. It just goes batshit crazy.
I didn't know what kind of movie it was going to be. And the thing I have to complain about HBO Max's format back when it first came out, I had a
Mm-hmm.
complaint because I went to adjust the volume, but it fast forwarded to the prison fight scene.
Or in the jail, yeah, yeah, I remember that. That's when things get really. Her head turns around, and you can tell that was some bad. I will say it's some bad CGI because you could tell it's not her face on the when she turns around back in. But I'll give it a pass for.
I do got to say, we've talked about AI before, just some of the stuff
Right.
that's come out.
Hmm.
Like, any complaints we have about CGI are going to be a lot of them are going to be gone.
You think so?
Yeah, because we're not mentioning in Aliens. I shouldn't say anything you haven't seen it yet. But as far as AI has can how do I put this reenact an actual person. The technology is real, like deepfakes. That's what I'm talking about. Deepfakes. It's really good now. So,
Trying an experiment here.
what are you looking at?
No, I just put in a. Okay. So I'm going off my personal YouTube. I wanted
Uh-huh.
to see if someone puts in a chat that it shows up in front of me, so it does. So okay, so I know that'll work in case. So I know that the chat will work now.
Do you have the YouTube chat up?
Yeah, yeah, it's up. It's supposed to somehow link this to StreamYard. Gives you the option to when you want to set up a live stream, if you
Mm-hmm.
want it to um connect it to whatever. So obviously I connect it to my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So this is showing so that's why I went on my phone to my YouTube. I switched from the Big Slick account to my personal account just to see what it looks like, and then that's why I just typed that message in there just to make sure that we're going to see anybody that happens to chat. So right now I think we have two people watching, so I don't know who the other person is besides my doppelganger, I guess.
Hey man, doppelgangers are some serious shit, right? We got to
No
be careful with
kidding.
that. What was it? There was a movie on Sundays when I stream movies. I was trying to play this Japanese movie called Fish Story. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not. What's Fish Story about? And don't
It
tell me
came
it's
out
about
about
fish.
not at all, not at all. It came out about 2010, 2011. It's
Uh huh.
about an it's about an asteroid. It's coming to Earth. Like Earth has got like a day or two left. All manned missions to try to blow it up have failed, and the world's only hope is a cursed punk rock song from the 70s.
Really?
It's an anthology. It is brilliant. I tried to freaking play it Sunday, but I guess the version I had, it was lagging for everyone else joining. So I was like, breaks my heart. I got to play a different movie.
How do you find that so far versus God? I can't remember the what you were using before.
I am gonna go back to Scener for the upcoming
Are you?
features. Yeah, yeah,
It's
because as far as a lot of my regulars are having issues like one or the other, so
uh huh.
just going back to basics, going back to Scener.
I only tried it that one time, the newer one, and I was like, it doesn't seem like with senior you can actually schedule ahead
Hmm.
of time,
No, you can,
whereas
you can.
whereas with this other one, I didn't, at least I didn't see anything where you could schedule your thing ahead of time and
Hmm.
all that. But I don't know. I think senior might have been a little bit more user friendly. Do you think that's the case?
No, I do believe so. I do believe so. I was pulled in by the fact you could use different websites, but I've only been able to find one, and even then, there's still issues that come up. I still use the Rave app.
Mm-hmm.
Probably gonna hop on here after the podcast, but now I'm senior. I have got a lot of experience with it, and especially with scheduling like a pre-show or a post-show.
Mm-hmm.
I remember during I had showed Blade Runner, and I had no idea how, but the talk of Suzanne Somers, the Thigh Master.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea why, but we all started chatting about it. And
Yeah.
right after the movie is done, I had scheduled the ads on YouTube to be playing right after the movie.
I remember those commercials too. Well, that's good. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Scener is a
Watch party website.
basically
You
watch party. There we go.
you and your friends can sync up your streaming sites, and you can watch the same movie at the same time and chat on the side.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, that's something for people fun to do, and that's something that Alistair does pretty regularly, about every Sunday night.
Every Sunday. And I tell you, when I was being paid to do it,
Hmm.
oh, it's the greatest job in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let's see here. Well, I do have like Well, tomorrow, do you know who on she's on Slasher Brooklyn Attic Books?
Yeah. I've messaged a couple of times. Yeah. Well, not messaged, but commented.
Right, right. Well, I'll be having her. She'll be my next guest. We're
Hey.
gonna be recording the episode tomorrow morning, so I'll have that episode up tomorrow. Of course, for those who don't know, she also has her own YouTube channel, so check
Oh.
that out. So I'll have that out. Um, Gentleman, but I don't know if you've seen him on Slasher. He's not on very often, but the name of the is Do No Harm on Slasher, which is also the name of his movie that he did on his YouTube channel,
Hmm.
which is actually a pretty good movie for what it is for a homemade movie or whatever. So his
Hmm.
name's Don Johnson, not to be confused with Mr. Miami Vice.
Freaking
But I'll be
fantastic.
having him on. Well, I'm going to be interviewing him the night before we do our Friday the 13th discussion. So when we got that coming up. So
I am looking forward to that.
me too, because have you and she's once again she's mainly on Instagram. She's sometimes on Slasher, but I had she was a guest I had on way back when, Stacy Lane Wilson. She'll be joining us, and she actually did some work on Crystal Lake Memories, the
Oh,
documentary that came out. So that's going to
oh,
be fun having her on with us.
I am very intimidated right
No
now.
worry, she's as sweet as can be, and not that she's watching right now, but if she is, happy birthday, because like today's her birthday. But we'll also have hopefully Stella will be able to join us,
Mm.
and we'll have another newbie. Have a newbie. And I can't even remember her slasher name. I know her as Mindy, but it's like Sex Metal something or other. Uh,
Oh,
the one
yeah,
that
yeah.
does
I've
all
seen
the
the show.
photo shoots. Yeah, she will be joining us too as well. So hopefully we'll have a. I'm intentionally now trying to overbook these things, so in case one or two people do drop out, we still have a decent amount there. So if I just,
I apologized
oh, that's
already
all
for
right.
last week. I apologized.
Shit happens. Me and I don't know if you've met Lee yet or not. You would have, but me and him kind of carried it well. We talked about. He brought up the subject of full moon features,
Oh,
which was a basically about what how they should be remembered. They might not be up to like Roger Corman level, obviously, but they did a lot for keeping horror alive in the 90s, even though they were like straight to video movies, most of them. But those were the type of movies that you would see on USA Up All Night.
mhm.
Those type of movies that would show up like Puppet Master or God, or something. And there was
on
tons of them that
on the
but
FX on. Oh,
well, I was going to say a movie that you were going to be talking about, vampire film. Now I'm like Lost Subspecies.
subspecies.
They did
Yes.
that one, which brings me here's a night. Well, here's something now. Something you were going to talk about whether or not to watch, whether how important it is to watch movies in order, watching a franchise.
Is it
What's your what?
is it necessary because you haven't seen Alien yet, the new Alien movie yet, Romulus. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've seen the first one, you can skip all of the sequels and go straight to this one because chronologically takes place a few years after the first movie.
Yeah, well, that's like Saw X. If
Exactly.
you had only seen the first Saw, you could just go ahead and see this because it's supposed to take place once it. Fetty Alvarez stole that idea from Saw. They went from,
Oh,
hey, look what Saw did. They went from 1 to 10 in between two. We'll do the same thing. And yeah, so I think it just depends on the series, kind of for the most part. But in that case, you're right.
or as I like to call it, Saw X deep in Mexico.
You know what? And that's my favorite Saw movie. How often is it that you can say that the 10th movie in the franchise is your favorite out of the franchise?
The eighth
Not
one is my favorite.
is it? Okay.
Yes. Just because my favorite ones are the ones where there's that mystery of who is Jigsaw this time.
That's right. But I'm like trying to think of some other series where I mean, with Halloween, they have so many damn crazy timelines. You can go 1, 2, because three's out in its own little universe. So you
Mm-hmm.
could go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, H2O. I forget Resurrection even exists, so I
See,
don't even acknowledge that one. But
now you see, you got
or
the
you go
Cult of
one,
Thor. Oh,
2018, and then Kills ends.
yeah, you got the Cult of Thorn timeline. You got the H2O timeline, and then you got the new timeline,
Hmm.
not including three. Although the latest one does make references as far as he killed those
All
three.
over the place.
Oh yes.
And we'll get to this because we'll be having a Halloween movie discussion at some point, people, in probably late October.
Mm-hmm.
For a trilogy that's like trying to pretend that none of these other previous movies exist, they sure do a good job of reminding you that indeed they still exist. But we'll talk about that one later. And that's also up to people that are watching or will watch later on in a few weeks. We'll be doing a whole Friday the 13th franchise discussion where we'll be talking about the entire series from start to end. I plan on doing another one on Hellraiser franchise the first of right around the first Saturday of October, and then we'll do Halloween at the end of October. So that's some big ones that we got coming up.
Hey, Hellraiser, they went to space. I'm still waiting for Michael Myers to make the trek.
If Pinhead and Jason can go there and Leprechaun can go there, Michael can go there too.
Let's see. I think I haven't seen it, but Amityville, they made the trek there too.
Did they really? Okay. That so that series just stopped with the original one. The first one's all I really needed to see. I never saw the sequels or the remake. Maybe I should at least watch the remake. Maybe.
I saw chunks of part two.
Hmm.
That I swear to God, this was the studio execs snorting cocaine and saying, "Remember The Exorcist? That was too, yeah, that was too subtle. Let's crank it up."
Kind of like like they did with Exorcist 2, kind of. But
Oh, I actually forgot about this. I've seen one, three, and
did you see the
season
newest
one of
one?
the series, but I haven't seen part two.
Oh, okay. I hear it's. I've never seen part 2 either, and I hear it's god awful. But who knows? I will say this for those who didn't like the new Exorcist movie that came out about a year ago.
Hmm.
Check out a movie on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime, and you can watch it for free if you have Prime. It's called The Exorcists,
Hmm.
plural. Check that out. It stars Doug Bradley in this
Oh,
from
you
Pinhead.
you've mentioned that before, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, you know what, for a lower budget film, and for basically a tired old premise, they do a pretty good job in the movie. I mean, it doesn't really feel low budget. I have a few like issues, like there's some characters in that movie that don't really belong, but for
Hmm.
the most part, the performances are good. The effects are about as good as they could get for however much money they made the movie in. I'm guessing for less than 1 million probably. And for people who don't think horror actors are good actors, Doug Bradley really does kind of carry the movie a little bit. There's a few other good performances, but you really realize how good of an actor he really is, besides just playing, the Hell Priest Pinhead. Um, but yeah, I would check it out if you were like if you like those type of movies and maybe were disappointed with the last Exorcist movie or thought Pope's Exorcist was too goofy, maybe give this one a try, The Exorcist. So there's my movie recommendation of the week.
My movie recommendation, and within the same genre of possession movies, it's a
Hmm.
movie called Ava's Possessions. Now,
What was it called again?
Ava's Possessions.
Okay, I thought you said Avis, like the
No,
car
no,
rental company.
no.
Avis.
This
Okay.
one, a movie starts after the exorcism is done, and they kind of treat it like it's it was an addiction almost, because the group she goes to a group with people who are also previously possessed, and uh, there's that aspect of like I don't. Some of them are like I don't know. I kind of like not having to worry about my life, letting someone else take the driver's seat. And there's also a mystery too because she finds out she had killed someone while she was possessed, and the more she looks
Hmm.
into it, the more she finds out like it was in self defense. Someone is trying to kill her, and the demon actually like possessing her body actually saved her life that time.
Right.
And so she's got to figure out like who the hell wants me dead now. It's like fantastic cast. I don't usually like exorcism movies, so the fact this is my favorite movie of the year came out, that
Yeah.
says a lot.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm normally not a big fan of those type of movies because it's basically the same thing over and over again. There's only so many different ways,
But
but
there are
every once in a while you get one that you actually genuinely like that's not called the original Exorcist.
mhm. What was it? I mean, same with shark movies too. Just because kind of the same formula doesn't mean one doesn't catch you by surprise.
Right. Well, it's like Jaws set such a high bar that you just can't hit it. So, like a movie like the Sharknado movies, they're so damn ridiculous that they're not even trying to be good. They're just throwing this crap out there. I can enjoy those movies. But then you have a bunch of movies that then try to capitalize on Sharknado. Well, we're going to be like some stupid, goofy shark movie too, and be totally ridiculous, more ridiculous than them. And then it gets to a point to where, okay, what are we doing here?
I think with Sharknado, they even went back in time.
Oh, they did everything, everything you could think of. I think I think by the time you got to, I mean, the first three I do actually enjoy, but by the time, like any series, by the time you get to 4 and 5, it's like, okay, now you guys are really reaching now. I think it was the fourth one though that had Gary Busey in it. So if Gary Busey's in a movie or has a part in a movie, it is worth watching, no matter what it is.
What was it? He was also in the Ginger Dead Man.
There's two actors that need to do a movie together: Nicolas Cage and Gary Busey.
Fascinating. I don't know. I don't
I,
know, man. How stable is Gary Busey these days?
has he ever been stable?
True. True.
He hasn't been stable in 50 years, as far as I know. Maybe he was stable when he did the Buddy Holly movie, but after that, by the time you get to Silver Bullet, he's already gone batshit crazy. So put him and Nicolas Cage, that'd be a lot of fun to watch. Him, Nicolas Cage, and Randy Quaid. There you go.
Ooh. All right, that's an
Because
interesting
Randy Quaid's kind of
combination.
gone off the deep end too.
What was it? He was saying the Illuminati was trying to kill him.
Something like that. I think I heard maybe, and I could be wrong, but I think he was like fleeing the government or whatever it was. He had to flee to Mexico because somebody was after him or something. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter had to bring him back in or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe it wasn't Mexico, but it was somewhere. Somebody in the comments can correct me on that one there or fact check me, but I'm pretty sure it was Dog the Bounty
you
Hunter
know,
that brought him back in.
he's so ridiculous. The fact we can't even say if it's false.
I know. And
Okay.
that's the thing. If I talk
Sorry.
about two polar opposite brothers, you got Randy Quaid and Dennis Quaid.
You can't help who you're born. Yeah, you can't help who your family is.
I like Jimmy Carter and his brother Billy Carter. Billy Carter's known as the fuck up. And of course, Jimmy Carter became like governor and president or whatever. Oh well. So yeah. So
All right.
what do
Any
we
new
got here?
horror news come out recently?
I think I just heard once again, and this is something we'll obviously touch on here in a couple of
Hmm.
weeks. It sounds like someone else now is taking over this Friday the 13th show, or there's new showrunners. So I don't know if A24 is still involved in that or not, but I don't know what's going on.
It
It's
was
like,
the prequel, I believe. They're going back to.
yeah, they're still going with that. So I'm like, okay. It's like, do we need a backstory for Pamela Voorhees? But oh,
I'll watch it
I don't
then.
know. We'll see if it works or not. I just, with A24, they do a lot of good movies, but I don't see A24 as a good fit with Friday the 13th because they try to make some artsy fartsy Friday the 13th. That's
And
like
it
trying
backfired.
to like it's like when McDonald's like a few years ago tried to come out with their like I don't know, their special deluxe burgers trying to be like grown up burgers. I'm like, no, that's not going to work for you guys. Just stick to doing what you're doing. Same thing with
People,
Friday the 13th. It's really easy. You've got the killer, you got the blood, and you throw in a few boobs. You're in a campground. That's all you need to do. You don't need to make this some sort of psychological upscale horror movie, really, if that's what they're trying to do with it. If they try to
now,
do that, it's going to flop, I think.
now, I thought the same thing with Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. Like, I don't need to know the reason why he kills. I just want
Hmm.
to see him do it.
Right. And who knows if that's what they're going for. Maybe that'll work for some people. I just don't. I don't think Friday the 13th is suited for a series. Hannibal, like doing Hannibal Lecter series, that
Hmm.
works. A Norman
Yeah.
Bates, that works. With Friday the 13th, like I said, just put out the goddamn movie already, will you? If you're going to do anything, and we'll talk more about that, what they should do with the series. But I have a few ideas, but it's not rocket science. It's like,
What was it? The fan films from Womp Stomp Studios, the Never Hike Alone series. They
yes.
had they had him in the snow. They had, and in that same one, they had like a cop was on the Camp Crystal Lake grounds, and so it was you could see the footage from his body cam. So it was a bit like a found footage thing they experimented with, but
Hmm.
just little variations.
And that's part of my point. I want to see it. Friday the 13th doesn't always have to fall on a summer, it can
Hmm.
fall in the middle of the winter. I would love to see a Friday the 13th movie taking place in Camp Crystal Lake in the middle of winter in the snow. That would be I think something cool, something different they could do. They can keep all the similar elements. It's just it's in the winter and there's some different stuff you could probably do with that.
Shit, I'm even a fan of bringing back the psychic from one of the sequels.
Oh yeah, why not? Oh yeah, from chapter 7, Tina. Yeah,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
not?
just a random telekinetic. Why not?
The only problem I really have with that movie, and we'll talk about that, is really the ending
Hmm.
is pretty bad. Doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
oh, it was kind
That
of
her father
sweet. Like
comes out and he's like doesn't look he looks exactly the same that he did whenever it was supposed to eventually happen. But outside of that, it's
yeah.
like one of my favorite Friday movies
Hey,
because I'm not going to knock it for not being as gory because that falls on the MPA having a stick up their ass for the movie. But
logically, it made no sense, but it was thematic dynamite.
yeah, no, but I like the whole idea. All right, well, we need to find like a different type of someone who can actually kind of stand toe to toe with Jason. Maybe not physically, but can kind of do the shit that she was doing. And it was Kane Hodder's first time as Jason, so I think it's the best movie that he was in as Jason.
I know he did Jason X. Come on.
Well, Jason X is good too. That's my second favorite of the Kane Hodder era of Friday the 13th.
Awesome. What was it? The creators from Psycho Gorman, they're coming out with a new movie as well.
Oh
What
yeah.
was it? Yeah, it was called something. Johnny, I'll look it up because it involves a man being haunted by a rock and roll goblin. So that's already got my money.
Okay. I think I may have heard about that one coming out. We've got quite a few different ones coming out. I know the big one is coming out, I think a day after Christmas will be
Mhm.
Nosferatu. That's
Nosferatu.
yes, I'm curious because Robert Egger, I think we've even talked about Robert Eggers directing it. Bill Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe will be in it as well. So it should be just with those two maniacs in the film, that alone should be worth the price of admission. And some people were
Was
like
it
saying,
also you?
"Well, that's a bad timing to have that movie coming out in Christmas." And I'm thinking, no, that's actually pretty smart because some people are going to be all Christmased out and done with Christmas. So seeing a good horror movie, especially one like that, will be a
Mhm.
good. I think it'll do pretty good in the box office. I mean, yeah, it'd be great if it came out right before Halloween, but I think a Christmas date's pretty good too, though.
No, I mean it does give like an awful warm holiday vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Hellbound Hellraiser 2 came out the day after Christmas, from what I can remember, because I remember seeing it in the theater. So it was just, I remember seeing it just a few days after Christmas. So that worked out well. So I think nothing but joy and cheer and peace and goodwill when I watched Hellraiser 2.
Yeah, my holidays became a lot more enjoyable after I started embracing scary movies. You know why? Because it feels easy to get Christmas wrong because it's a holiday of joy, but not
Right.
everyone feels happy.
Nope.
So it feels like if you're not happy, you're failing at Christmas.
Well, Billy in Black Christmas sure felt happy, I think.
Ah, I've seen. Oh
Did
man,
you go ahead.
I've been on a podcast talking about that movie as well.
What'd you think? Speaking of, we talk about sequels. I really like the or remakes or whatever. I really liked the 2006 remake. It almost
Mhm.
felt like almost like a sequel, more almost like a sequel to the first one than a remake a little bit. It's not obviously. And then for whatever reason they decided to do another one
Mhm.
and that one really sucked, I think.
It was
And
a cult or something instead of Billy, right?
it was like totally different. And it's funny. Have you seen the movie Christmas Bloody Christmas?
Oh, with the android Santa Claus, I
Hmm.
fucking
I
love that.
love the fact that they take a shot at Blumhouse's Black Christmas in that movie because the main girl and her friend, they're like talking about horror movies like we do almost. Goes, yeah, you watch that piece of shit Blumhouse version of Black Christmas. There's only one good or something along. I'm paraphrasing, and I just thought that was so funny that they took a shot at Black Christmas 2017 or whatever it was. And that's like
There,
my favorite Christmas horror movie now when once I saw that because that was just the most brutal fucking horror movie you'll see for this era, or it wasn't, or one of the more brutal ones you'll see in the recent years. Maybe not quite up to Terrifier level, but
mhm.
it was, they killed a kid, so yeah, it's pretty brutal.
I mean, you know, Art the Clown's going to do the same. But I remember Christmas Bloody Christmas. They're having a debate on Soundgarden,
Hmm.
and the girl was saying, then he did Super Unknown, and that just completely fell off the rails. And her friend was like, "Ha, that was their best album ever." Chose to go. You don't know what you're talking about.
And that's what was so great about that movie too. Wasn't just the brutality, but was the characters because these were like fairly relatable characters. The final girl's actually a real isn't like a little priss. She's a real badass for the most part. She drinks. She does all the stuff that we do, or, parties and whatnot. She's not like these, the little prissy annoying types of final girls you sometimes get in movies. So that's why I like, and her whole relationship with her friend that, they end up getting it on later, but it's pretty real. I mean, it's the type of shit, they talk about. The dialogue in that movie is the type of stuff that we talk about amongst ourselves, kind of. So that's what I think made that movie stand apart.
They did a good balance of, as far as the reactions that there's a robot Santa Claus coming to get them.
Hmm. It just, that movie kind of like reaffirms my position that Terminator is a horror movie, because
It is. It is.
that essentially is Terminator only dressed as Santa Claus is what that movie almost is, for the most
That's
part.
actually
And the ending, I mean, I will say the ending takes forever to finally end, but it certainly gives off some Terminator vibes on that ending.
that my exact thoughts. I think on Slasher, after I saw it, I had written, if Terminator was a holiday movie, this would be it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's what I got there. And I'm surprised that one didn't get um any type of like oh, what was I gonna say? A a sequel. I'm surprised they haven't come out with,
Mhm.
may, or maybe they will this year, because I think that was a Shutter film, but
Mhm.
because I remember there was a mention saying that a bunch of Santa Clauses went crazy in a mall or something. So what if you did a bunch of stories that all took place at the same time, and you do this story where the Santa goes crazy in the mall, and do that story, and maybe you can all link them all together. That's what I thought they might have done, but they didn't make one last year, so maybe they'll come out with one this year.
Hopefully, I haven't heard anything, but what was it? I forgot. Do you watch Joe Bob as well, or no?
Occasionally I don't watch them, and maybe that's why we're like don't have anyone, because maybe a lot of people are watching Joe Bob right now. I don't watch him live as he happens, but I will go back and watch. Oh, he did this movie. Let me watch this. So yeah, occasionally, like last week, I watched his when he, and this goes back to like his season one, when he did
Mhm.
House of the Devil, which is a movie I know you don't like, but but
Ty,
I did
Ty
watch that.
West. Ty West is a hit or miss for me, but
The same way with certain other directors like Ari Aster, but yeah, I understand that.
ru-
But I like also saw the one he did for Reanimator, and for, yeah. So I watch him on occasion, sure.
but I was saying Joe Bob. Next week he's doing the 6 movie marathon, and that's an all night thing.
Oh yeah, I may have to check that out, or at least see which movies he plans on seeing. Maybe I'll watch the whole thing, but
Rumor
yeah.
is he's getting the same horror host for the USA's Up All Night series.
Oh
That's the
really?
rumor. That's the big rumor.
I was like thinking that was like, well, I know for a time Gilbert Godfrey did that, and he's no
It
longer
was him
with us.
and another woman, but rumors heavy that
Oh, I
it's going to
think I
be.
know who you're talking about. Yeah, and I can't think of her name.
I'm blanking on it too. I never. I had USA, but I never knew they had horror nights. It's mainly Joe Bob as a kid. I was watching.
A lot of people did. If not Joe Bob, they were watching somebody like a local television station. Like, if you remember the movie Fright Night, you had that guy played by Roddy McDowell who's playing the local horror host. And back in the day, every local television station in the city had someone like that. But then you had like Joe Bob and Elvira. You're more, they were syndicated and whatnot.
Locally, we never had that, man. But I will tell you this: the movie I saw for the first time on Joe Bob, that pretty much every horror host has shown, Carnival of Souls.
Uh huh.
That was a fascinating one to watch.
Okay, I will have to. I mean, I've heard of that movie. That's
Hmm.
one I'll have to check out here
It
somewhere
was
down the road.
no, it just blew my mind because black and white movie, but they had access to an abandoned like theme park or carnival that was
Hmm.
near the Salt Lakes, and so just this incredible imagery of just you'll see that, but then you'll just see like nothingness from the sides. Like it's not like it would be something you would normally see with CGI, but this was real. Like they had access to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just like very, very iconic imagery. I think had they made a remake of that?
Really, well, that's always cool when you have a movie like that. Sounds like it's a movie that's kind of like ahead of it. It was ahead of its time, kind of.
Hmm. And he was
Awesome.
saying the thing he hates most at festivals are when it's like this is a hidden gem, and he was like completely, you know, systematically tearing down that phrase. And then
Uh
he said, unlike those other movies, this is actually a hidden gem that that was
huh.
saved from. He was like, for all the movies, that's a bullshit term. This is the only one that term matters.
The term I think that's even more bullshit than that, and of course I use hidden gems quite a bit. I hate the term guilty pleasure because if
Hmm.
you like something, you shouldn't feel guilty about liking it. That's just me. It's like, yes, you know what? I like whatever X, Y, Z. I like Jason X. You know what? Or Friday Part Five. You know what? So sue me. I like the movie. I'm not gonna feel guilty about it.
For me, it's teen vampire love triangle movies. That's
There's nothing guilty about that. Anyone should feel guilty about that. Or the term elevated horror. That's like a term that comes out for people who don't really like horror, but they found one particular movie that they like, so they said, "Well, this isn't really horror; it's elevated horror." While I drink my champagne and eat my caviar while I'm watching it,
Listen,
which I do like champagne. I've never tried caviar. I wouldn't know what it tastes like. Not sure if I
listen.
would.
Do I want to see a movie about uh, that's examination on grief? You know, with a monster representing it. Sure. Do I want to see someone dual wielding machetes against zombies? Yes.
Well, that's the thing about horror. I mean, we have so many different subgenres of horror. There's no need to say that this particular subgenre is so much better than this subgenre. It's just whatever you like. And, I like we talked about A24 and you talked about how Ty West is a hit and miss with you. And I'm kind of the
Honestly,
same way with certain other directors as well. And I can
Robert
see that
Eggers
for sure.
actually.
It's like, Ari Aster, I'm not in love with Hereditary. I think it's funny just because I have a sick
Hereditary.
sense of humor. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was.
absolutely funny to watch this creepy little girl lose her head because she stuck her head out the window. Who? How many times have our parents told us when we were kids not to do that? No, I'm just kidding. I kind of make fun in my newest book. I kind of make fun. There's like a brief setting where they're having like this big dinner. These vampires are, and there's some mortals there as well. Only the mortals don't know they're vampires, and they're discussing horror movies. And this one vampire who's kind of crazy anyway talks about, yeah, I love that one movie where that one lady was stuck back, hitting her head against the ceiling and all that shit. Talking about Tony Collette going batshit crazy
Nah.
and all that stuff. And I'm not referencing directly Hereditary, but I'm talking about it. So it's just me just having a little fun with it because people tend to take movies a little too seriously, and I've noticed that. I like a lot of A24 movies, but the A24 diehard fans are something else. And any chance I get to like make fun of them, I will. Like Midsummer, I think is a dark comedy,
Listen,
which I enjoy. I'll watch Midsummer. It has more watchability than Hereditary does,
I will
just
say I
because I
saw
find
that
it.
in theaters with
Hilarious.
a friend of mine, and it was freaking me out. But also, we pre-gamed before that movie, so we were drunk.
You would
And so,
have to.
hey man, if they got a bar inside the theater, I'm pre-gaming.
No, but the point is A24 ain't perfect. They did, by the way, make a movie called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies that
I like
starred
that one.
Pete, what's his face? Pete Davidson, who I have an allergic reaction to. If I even hear his name, I find him about as funny as one of my dog's mounds of turds in the backyard. So it's like, I'll take a big pass.
Had you seen it though? Have you seen it?
No, I don't want to. I've seen the
No,
movie poster, and that's enough to make me hurl.
no, it was a fun one. They also had
You're a braver man than me, though. So,
well, the movie also had what was it? Lee Pace in it as well.
oh yeah, the guy. What is he? He's been in a lot of different things. I think he was like in Thor 2 or something.
Let me
Or
see.
was it Guardians of the Galaxy? I think he was in one of the
Yeah,
Marvel movies. I
the
know that
he
much.
yeah he was the main villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a shame because they spent freaking they're spending gonna spend more than $80 million to get Robert Downey Jr. back when you can get Lee Pace, the freaking Killian Murphy, the dude who played Jamie Lannister. You have so many options that would be a lot less expensive than Robert Downey Jr.
I'm almost, I love Robert Downey Jr. and I don't begrudge him at all. If someone's going to throw $80 million at me, sure, why not? He'll never have to work again. His
Oh, I don't.
his
Oh,
family, his grandparents, his his grandkids, his great grandkids, great great grandkids are going to be set for life. So why not? It just shows how Disney is just they're desperate. So like, but yeah, there's a lot better people I could think that could play Doctor Doom. Um,
for a fraction of the cost.
for sure. And granted, Deadpool and Wolverine was a I went and saw it and it did doing well and as well it should, but that's their swan song there because it's gonna just they were already going downhill. That was like their last. I I just think people are just burned out on Marvel right now.
Superhero movies in general.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, yeah, Jamie Lannister, that the guy who played Jamie Lannister. Have you ever seen the movie? This came out about a year ago called God is a Bullet.
I heard about it. I haven't seen it though, but he goes after a cult that has like his daughter or something.
Hmm. It is, all right, let's put it this way. It has like the dark grittiness of like the original Death Wish movie with Charles Bronson, mixed in with some of the themes of Taken with Liam Neeson, only not as big or, it doesn't have that blockbuster, feels much more darker, more intimate. It's my favorite movie of last year, 2023, without question. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I gotta
check
track
that
it
out.
down.
It's not really horror, but it's more of a but it's pretty graphic. It gets pretty brutal in some scenes. So it's his best. I think it's his best role he's ever done. At least, of course, I only seen him as Jamie Lannister, but actor's name's Nikolai Coster-Waldau, I think's his
Hmm.
full name, but I probably butchered it. But damn good actor. He's great in it. So
Oh
I
yeah,
would certainly. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I remember renting it on Amazon Prime because it, once again, a movie that didn't get released near where I live, so I wanted to see it, watched it, and then I went and ordered it on Blu-ray. I think it was off of Amazon or eBay or wherever it was. So I
what was it?
own
Have
it.
you ever?
So
I haven't seen it, but have you ever seen both Night Watch and the sequel? Because both those movies have him as well.
no, I have not. I'll have to check those out. He's an actor I would like to see more of in some of these movies. I think he'd be really good. Um, You'd be good in a horror movie, either playing a protagonist or an antagonist. You could play
Mm,
this type of actor that could play either or, really.
what was it? There is the acting school he went to. He went with Matt Mikkelsen, and so
Okay.
and so there are photos of both of them on stage together, just young as hell. Man, it's interesting to
That makes
see.
sense because they're probably about the same age, I would guess. I think they're probably right now in their early 50s, maybe late 40s, early 50s, somewhere around there. So that makes about sense.
I gotta tell you, Matt Mikkelsen. When I started watching Hannibal, I was like, "There's no way he can outdo Anthony Hopkins." 3 episodes in, I'm like, "The son of a bitch did it." And I told a friend that he gave me this look, and I'm like, "Shut up! I know what you're thinking. I thought it too."
What do you think? Did you ever see, speaking of like that character, Hannibal Lecter, we think of him mostly as Anthony Hopkins, obviously, but did
Mhm.
you ever see Manhunter from
I,
'86?
I haven't finished it. What was it? I think I was up at 2 in the morning with my son, and I had it on my phone,
Uh huh.
and I couldn't finish it, but it was good what I saw. Like I like the Red Dragon movie. I saw the one with Edward Norton. I love that
Right.
one, and it's pretty much the same thing. And then the show adapted that story too for the last season.
Okay. Yeah. I'm on the I look at both of those. They're two different types of movies, and I liked Red Dragon. I remember seeing Manhunter on came on a network TV maybe 88, 89, and it had been forever since I seen it. And I decided, I need to revisit it. And watching it, as good as Edward Norton is, William Peterson just kicks ass in that role. It's like Edward Norton played that character. William Peterson, who most people will know from being on CSI, he like almost became that character in that movie. And I think that's like the big difference for me in that. And I
I
also
can't.
kind of think Brian Cox really kind of nails. I mean, it is one of those what could have been had they kept Brian Cox when they did Silence of the Lambs. How would that movie had would that been as popular as it was, or would it not have, or would he have done as good of a job as what Anthony Hopkins did? Because I think based on what I saw in Manhunter, he's pretty fucking creepy in that movie too, even though it's a very small part.
He could have, but it's always a question of would it hit the same. I mean, he's got that. He can act like hell.
Right.
He's really phenomenal. Even in fucking Super Troopers, give him 3 minutes. He's gonna steal the show from a group of comedians.
Yeah, he's like one of those actors, and there's so many like those character actors who only need like 5 or 10 minutes to be in a movie, and they can just really kick it. And that's like not a knock, obviously, on Anthony Hopkins at all. I'm just saying Brian Cox is a pretty good role version of that role too, that people often overlook. And I actually kind of like Tom Noonan better as the Tooth Fairy than I did Ray Fiennes, who's a great actor too. It's just I found Noonan just way more creepier. He just he just looks more creepier to begin with. So
It's still, I will say, it's kind of tough to outdo Ralph Fiennes, pumping iron and go, "No, Grandma, don't cut it off."
yeah, but yeah, there are like I mean, for the most part, the same movie. There are some differences. The endings are definitely different in both movies, but I think like William Peterson's performance really put it over for me. So I almost kind of prefer Manhunter over Red Dragon, but it's pretty narrow. It's of course it's a much more 80s style movie too because it was directed by Michael Mann, who we talked about Miami Vice very briefly earlier.
I love.
Did the Miami Vice show, and he in the middle of all that did Manhunter as well,
Now I
and so
love
you can
the.
tell it's his style of show or style of making movies.
Yeah. No, no, I love the Miami Vice, the movie The recent one with
Mm,
there's a Jamie Foxx and
Colin
Colin Farrell.
Farrell.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Being a I mean, granted, it's the only problem I have with it is the TV series, and I grew up watching the TV series, is so 80s. It's so synonymous with the 80s. And this is, of course, a much more modern version. So it just didn't feel like it had the same vibe. But as a movie on its own, it's pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. In fact, I think I still have it on DVD, actually. Just haven't watched it in a while. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, and the fact that he did it, he directed it, so that gives it some cachet, I guess.
And I will say this: William Peterson, he was in the movie that traumatized me the most as growing up. That was the movie The Beast. Whenever it comes to open water, it's never a shark that scares me. It's a giant squid. And that was like a
Hmm.
two-part movie. Scared the shit out of me.
How
Mainly,
long ago was that movie?
that was the 90s, man. That was made for TV. But the part that really got me is that it showed a couple having like a romantic time on
Uh-huh.
land. They were not safe. The squid like pulled itself out of water and shit. It was, oh, that got me, man. That movie got me.
I haven't heard of that one. The only thing of course, he got really big once he did CSI.
Hmm.
But I remember there was another movie he did right about the time, either right after or right before Manhunter, called
Oh,
To Live and Die in LA, which also
hmm,
starred William Forsythe, which was another one of those cult
hmm.
thriller classics from that era that probably doesn't get talked enough about, but should.
No, honestly, I haven't heard of that one.
I didn't know this was going to turn into a William Pearson tribute show, but he is a damn good actor. I mean, it's the best part of. I mean, you know, they put him in when that show first started. CSI, they put him in, and it automatically gave that show some legitimacy. Where I don't know if anyone else could have done that at that time. Of course, later on he leaves the show, and other actors came in, but
Hmm.
kind of set the groundwork for that show. And of course, they had the spin-offs too.
Heck yeah, man. Oh, CSI, that takes me back. Now, I remember, was it back when they had movie stores open? And then DVDs started coming out for shows. That was the big seller. Was it CSI? You get like season one, two, just box set. Ah, I miss those days. Video stores, man.
Oh yeah, I used to have some. What was another show? Well, I remember one show I got hooked on. Well, there was two in the early 2000s. There was 24, which had
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland. I was definitely hooked on that show. And then a few years later, House with
Hmm.
Hugh Laurie. There's a guy who could play a really creepy villain in a horror movie, Hugh Laurie. But
Absolutely.
anyhow, those were like two shows in the 2000s that I really watched religiously. And then after that, I haven't really, other than Game of Thrones and maybe Mad Men, I haven't really, I couldn't tell you any TV shows that are going on nowadays.
It used to be before streaming. It used to be like everyone's got the same channels, everyone's watching the same thing, and now it's all over the place. And plus, Netflix being the biggest streaming service, they cancel stuff after two seasons.
Yeah, they had a show on, and maybe they're going to do a third season. There was a show called Mindhunter that I was a big fan of,
Hmm.
and the second season kind of ended on a little bit, not quite a cliffhanger, but they weren't quite finished telling the story they were going to tell because it was involving the murders in Atlanta back in the 70s, the child murders in Atlanta. And it just kind of ends, and they didn't renew it. But now I'm hearing they might do a third season, hopefully, but we'll see.
Hopefully. One of the best sci-fi shows I've ever seen, Altered Carbon.
Hmm.
It had a fantastic premise because the main character could be played by a different actor each season, the way it was set up. But 2 seasons in, and then and that
Yeah, that happens a lot there with them for whatever reason.
was it. And Cobra. Meanwhile, Cobra Kai for the last season is getting, a 3-part last season. Three
See, I
parts.
don't even know why they're doing a last season of that because it seems to me the way the past season lasted or ended, that seems to pretty much be as I don't see where
That kind
else
of.
you can go with that. I don't see any point in going any further with it than he did.
I mean, I'm
But
always happy to see more of it, but it does feel like story ended there. Like once again, I haven't seen the newer episodes, so I don't know how they're keeping it going.
oh, have they started their new season yet?
Yes, part one of the last season it just came out.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know it. I'm very rarely do I look at Netflix, and normally when I do, it's to look at what I'm normally looking at documentaries, so I didn't even know it had started yet. So I guess I should check it out, or maybe I won't. Or eventually I will. But the last thing I really watched on Netflix was that it was like a little mini series, maybe like a 6, 7 part called "The Fall of the House of Usher."
Yes, I finished that like a month or two ago.
That
Oh,
was really good. I was a lot better than that. I wasn't sure what to expect with that, but that was pretty good.
was it Mike Flanagan? Man, I worship at the altar.
What's he got coming up next that he's directing?
He got the new Exorcist movie. He's going to be
That's
doing a new
right.
one.
Hmm.
And then he went from Netflix to Amazon Prime, and he's working on The Dark Tower.
Okay, so they're gonna give that one a pretty much a redo, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Because I know the first one wasn't overly, or the movie they tried to doing wasn't overly wasn't. I
wasn't
actually haven't
popular.
seen it, but I know it wasn't well received at all. But
It seems like they did that thing where it's like here's elements from the first couple of stories and
hmm.
the second to the last story. I hate when they do that. One of my
Okay, so
favorite.
it was kind of incomplete then.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite book series is the Cirque du Freak. The
Hmm.
movie they did, it had elements from the first 3 books and the 7th book. It's kind of like they were just jumbling everything around when you could really, when it's a story you could take your time with.
Oh wow.
Mm,
Well, yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll do a good job with that. So
absolutely,
what else?
absolutely. I'm tempted to watch Midnight Club, especially with Heather Landcamp in there, but
Oh,
the
she
fact
gonna
that
be in that? Oh, that's cool.
oh no 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 Midnight Club it already came out. It's on Netflix, but the thing is though it got canceled after season 1.
Of course.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why he's taking off.
We can't ever have good things anymore. Well, it looks like we got like 4 people watching. So whoever's doing that, do me a favor and give us a like. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to post a comment below, go ahead so I know who it is that's watching us.
Oh man, anything else to chat about?
I'm trying to think what else here. Like I said, good we got some good content coming up for this show. What are you doing anything this Sunday night on so you're going to go ahead and go back to doing senior this Sunday?
I am indeed. I'll post the link on Slasher, and still have to decide which movie. But with Slasher, I got access to Tubi again without any
Okay.
issues. So
Okay,
a lot
good.
of variety there.
Yeah, Tubi's always fun there. Well, I
Fascinating.
yeah, they're kind of like my go-to. It's like kind of goes with, well, I'll start with Shutter or AMC Plus because AMC Plus contains, you get the AMC Plus, it comes with Shutter. So I'll start there, and if it's not there, then I'll go to Tubi, and then if I'm really desperate, I'll go to Pluto, and then, well,
Pluto's good. Pluto's good.
yeah, Pluto's not bad either. They don't have quite the catalog that Tubi has, but they do have certain movies that Tubi doesn't have. Like the other, like just last night, I watched Return of the Living Dead from
Uh,
1985. It's not on Tubi. It's not on Amazon. It's not on HBO. So, sure enough, I checked IMDb or whatever, showed it on Pluto. Like, cool, I'll watch it there then.
they also have the Universal Monster Channel, and
Yes, they do. Which I had just bought, ordered this, and grant's not all of them, but I got like a 6 movie box set from the
mhm,
Universal. So it basically has Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, the Mummy, and Creature of Black Lagoon. So it's got those
they,
six
they,
right there. Or
they
maybe it's
also
the
got the
Invisible Man. I think it's on there too.
they also got the Abbott and Costello ones, especially with him, the Invisible Man, and
Oh,
was
that's
it
a
them
good
versus
one.
and then
Meets
versus Frankenstein,
Frankenstein.
one of my favorites. Man.
What's interesting too, you know that it's hard to believe, but Bela Lugosi only played Dracula twice.
I know,
In the
freaking.
original Dracula, and then the Abbott Costello movie, that's all he played Dracula. And Christopher Lee played him like, I don't know, 8 times. I think it's something like that. But
Freaking Lon Chaney Jr. played the Wolfman, son of Dracula. I think he played. Didn't he play Frankenstein at least once?
he might have played him once. It seemed like everyone took, even Bela Lugosi played Dracula in Frankenstein meets Wolfman. I think. I'm trying to think which one he played him in, but I'm pretty sure Chaney played Frankenstein in one of those later movies, I think, after, because Karloff only played him like basically the original, what you would call the
Hmm.
Frankenstein trilogy of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and the Son of Frankenstein, and that's all he has played him the 3 times.
It blows my mind. Karloff played Frankenstein and the Mummy. Imhotep.
Hmm.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
And also, he told his family, I decided I wanted to make something for the kids, so I did a voiceover for a cartoon, and it was the goddamn Grinch.
I know. Of all things, he does like the whole yeah, it blows my mind too. And then he turns around, and did you ever see like the little, and this was like an Italian horror film anthology, Black Sabbath. He was, of course, in that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
see Black Sabbath. I saw the Black Cat with him and Bella Lugosi. That was incredible.
yes, he was in that as well. Yep, you can find Black Sabbath, should be on. Can't remember, I think it's on Tubi. I think it might also be on Amazon too. But it's like a 3 story anthology series, and he stars in one of them. But he also kind of like does the narration, or he does like kind of like hosts it a little bit.
Mhm.
So this is when he's like much later in life, in the 60s at this point. He had also done, what was, there was a movie he did with Christopher that also starred Christopher Lee in the late 60s, and also Barbara Steele, and I can't, oh boy, it's gonna kill me now that I can't think of the name of the movie.
Next time, my
Next
friend.
time we'll talk about it. Well,
All
oh,
right.
I'm sure someone will probably chime in later on and say, "Oh, it was that," and you're probably, and yeah, you're right.
Oh, we'll get insulted. They'll make gifts of us. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, my friend.
So, no kidding. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and call it an evening here. So,
Absolutely.
thanks for joining me, Alistair. This was our first live stream. So, hopefully, we may do some more of these here and there. What do we got here? We got someone. Oh, I'm just now seeing it. Your private message shows you how much I pay
Yeah, yeah.
attention. But anyhow, we'll call this a night. Alistair, I'll see you. Like I said, folks, I'll be having Brooklyn Act tables on shortly, probably sometime this weekend, and then I will have Don from Do No Harm, who did his own movie that you can see on YouTube. And then we'll be doing a Friday the 13th franchise discussion, and that's going to be epic. So until then, we'll see everyone next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for having me, man.